Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, everybody? Little technical malfunction right there. Not ready for that quite yet. What's going on, everybody? How are you doing on this beautiful Sunday? Hopefully this live or this replay finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you're new here and you're like, who the hell am I am Mel, your favorite astrologer here at Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. This channel is everything tarot, astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. And speaking of content, head over to Instagram and hit that follow button. I've got loads of excellent daily content. Plus, I go live over there every Thursday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time for live tarot readings by sign. All right, so head over there so you don't miss any of that great stuff. All right, my love. So, well, hello, Patricia Jean. How are you doing? How are you doing? Hopefully you are doing well on this beautiful Sunday. All right. There is a lot to discuss today. We've got a new moon in Libra that's going down today. Plus, we've got a bunch of cosmic activity going on this week. So this week is jam-packed with cosmic activity, and I'm really excited to be bringing this information to you. All right. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, just some housekeeping. All right. So we've got a new month upon us because on Saturday, it's going to be October. I mean, can you believe that we are just flying through 2022, but October starts on Saturday. So as always, I do the monthly astro forecast on the last Wednesday of the month. So join me here on YouTube on Wednesday, September 28th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the monthly astro forecast for October. All right. So set a reminder so that you don't miss it. All right. And also, I'm excited to be bringing you guys something new. All right. So if you've signed up to my newsletter, you know that I typically give you a guide to the week. So along with this live weekly astro forecast that I do here on YouTube, if you're signed up to my newsletter, you get like a written breakdown basically of what the astrology is for the week. And so I've kind of added to that a little bit. So what I've done is I have, basically, if you want to get your weekly horoscope for the week, text the word ZODIAC to the number 855-826-5544, and you will be able to get your weekly ZODIAC right on your phone every week. Not only that, but you will be subscribed to my SMS list where you get exclusive discounts, sales, product launches, plus you get 10% off everything on the site. All right. So once again, if you are interested in getting your weekly horoscope, text the word ZODIAC to 855-826-5544. All right. And get yourself right for the week. I'm really excited to be bringing that because, you know, everyone likes a little information on the zodiac, right? You don't need a full blown horoscope, but if you know what to look out for the week as it pertains to you specifically, I think that's super helpful. All right. So hopefully you guys subscribe to that and get your lives good for the week. All right. So before I get into the nitty gritty, as always, if you are new to astrology or even if you've been studying and you need a refresher, I created this thing called the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet, where I basically give you the quick and dirty on everything you need to know to start studying astrology. It includes the 4 pillars of astrology: the planets, the houses, the signs, and the aspects. So I created this 11-page PDF document that basically gives you a summary of all of the stuff you need to know in order to start learning astrology. But it's not just about learning astrology. It's also about learning how to read your natal chart. You know, the natal chart is the blueprint to your life. And if you're not familiar with how to read a natal chart, it can be very confusing. But once you get the planets, the houses, the sign, and the aspects down pat, it makes reading your natal chart a lot easier. All right. So if you're interested in downloading this PDF, the link will be in the description box below. All right. So without further ado, let's get into the week and see what we have. All right. So the highlights we have this week are what I like to call relationships, love, and money. All right. Because over the next month, the theme of relationships is going to be hitting us over the head really hard. Starting today with the new moon in Libra, we've got a lot of relationship energy. So if you're looking to get booed up, if you're looking to mend an existing relationship, this energy of this week, and particularly today with the new moon in Libra, is all for you. All right. So keep that in mind. Then finally, thank God, Mercury is going to be going direct at the end of the week. So this 3-week saga of mayhem and mishaps is finally coming to an end. All right. So even though Mercury is going to be going direct on the 2nd of October, which is a week from today, it's still going to be in its shadow period. So we won't be out of the woods until about October 19th. But thankfully, Mercury is going to begin its trajectory into going direct next Sunday. So things should get a little less crazy. All right. And then finally, with the moon this week, we have what I like to call building momentum, because we're going to be in the waxing phase of the moon. So this is going to be the time where we really put the pedal to the metal and start taking actions towards our manifestations. All right. So if you feel revved up this week, know that it's the moon putting a battery in your back. All right. So before I get into the week, I know that last week I discussed the new moon in Libra, but I kind of wanted to go over it again. Okay, this is, I have to say, this thing is like, I didn't program that correctly, so it keeps on coming up. But it's a reminder to text ZODIAC to 855-826-5544. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the new moon in Libra going down today, all right, because it's pretty important. The energy is pretty intense, and the energy is going to be around for a while. I mean, we literally just started Libra a couple of days ago, right? On the 22nd. And Libra is all about relationships. But I feel like this new moon is really setting the stage and like providing such fertile soil for the relationships in our lives. So the energy of Virgo season can be a little solitary, right? Virgo is typically symbolized by the Virgin and by the Hermit. So it's sort of all about being a little bit independent, right? And sort of being reclusive and handling your business, all that stuff. And so then we come to Libra season where there's a focus on the other. There's a focus on relationships, right? And this new moon is like jam-packed with that particular energy. Not only because Mercury was retrograde, right? And the sun and the moon are in Libra, but we also have 5 other retrograde planets right now, okay? And so there's this emphasis on the past. There's this emphasis on what we've been through, who we've dealt with. And if we're dealing with relationships, we're talking about obviously people from our past, right? We're also talking about relationship issues from our past. So I feel like Libra season isn't just about relationships on like a superficial level. I think the season really urges us to think about all of the things that go along with relationships, not just our emotions, but kind of how we show up in relationships ourselves. All right. And I feel like the new moon addresses that, right? But then we've got the full moon in Aries coming up in October, on October 9th, which is really going to highlight that. All right. So again, I feel like Libra season is really all about relationships. So if relationships are a sore spot for you, if you'd rather not be bothered with anybody else, I feel like the energy of this month is really going to be frustrating and annoying to you, because this issue of relationships is just going to keep on coming up. All right. And again, not just today, not just for Libra season, but also for this week in particular. All right. We've got some great energy this week. There's a lot going on, and it's really a week where we've got a lot of opportunities. I feel like when it comes to relationships, we've got a lot of opportunities. How we communicate with others is also going to be a major emphasis this week. So again, you're going to feel like this week, relationships obviously are going to be a big deal, but if you're looking to be reclusive, I feel like the astrology of the week is going to kind of force you to deal with people and force you to deal with some of the issues that go along with relationships. So get ready, because it's going to be one of those weeks that's really like, you're going to feel the energy this week for sure. All right. So speaking of the week, let's get into the week and see exactly what we've got. So on Monday, we have the sun opposite Jupiter. There's a lot going on Monday, clearly. Mercury is going to be conjunct Venus, and we've got Venus trine Pluto. All right. Then on Tuesday, we've got Mercury trine Pluto, and the moon is going to be moving into Scorpio. Then on Wednesday, we've got Mars trine Saturn. Thursday, we've got Venus moving into her home sign of Libra. So again, that concept, that issue, that what do I want to call it? That topic of relationships. Again, another emphasis on that. All right. And then Friday, we have the moon moving into Sagittarius. Saturday, we've got Venus opposite Jupiter. And then Sunday, we've got Mercury finally going direct and the moon moving into Capricorn. All right, so let's take it day by day and see what the week has in store. So like I said, on Monday, there's a lot going on. You'll see at the top right-hand portion of your screen, we've got the Sun, Venus, and Mercury all sort of mixing together, all within the same vicinity, right? The Sun is in Libra, and we've got Mercury and Venus not far behind in Virgo, all right? And so first, we have the Sun making an opposition to Jupiter in Aries, all right, which actually, even though oppositions tend to be harsh or sort of negative aspects, anytime you have a Jupiter opposition, it's actually quite positive. And we've got 2 this week, all right? Then we've got Mercury and Venus conjunct in Virgo. And you'll see that again at the top hand portion of your screen. And then finally, we have Venus trine Pluto. Venus is in Virgo and Pluto is in Capricorn. You'll see that towards the left-hand side of your screen. So again, lots going on Monday. So let's take it on a granular level. All right. So first, we've got the Sun opposite Jupiter. And like I said, even though oppositions tend to be a negative aspect, anytime you involve Jupiter, it's always something positive. Jupiter is all about abundance, good fortune, success, okay? And so we start off the week with an opportunity for all of those things, an opportunity for happiness, abundance, good fortune, success. I feel like we start off the week on a very optimistic note, right? So especially today with the new moon in Libra, and it's all about relationships, and the Sun being in Libra, and Jupiter being in Aries, this again highlights that issue of relationships. Aries is all about ourselves. Libra is all about the others, all about relationships. So I feel like building on the energy of this new moon, we have this optimism about relationships that we start the week with on Monday, right? And with the Sun not only energizes things, but the Sun also brings things to our consciousness. And so definitely, this is one of those days where you're going to have relationships on the brain, right? Not just because we've got the Sun opposite Jupiter. We've also got Mercury conjunct Venus. Venus is all about relationships. And then we've got Venus trine Pluto, okay? So Monday's one of those days where you can really get a lot done, where you're going to feel good about relating to other people. It's one of those feel good kind of days. But in any event, back to the Sun opposite Jupiter, right? We have, again, opportunities for success. This is rewards for good deeds done in the past, especially if you did something really nice for someone else. Karma can definitely come and find you. Good karma can definitely come and find you. This is one of those things, like I said, anytime you have the Sun in the mix, it's all about things being put into your consciousness, things being aware of things. And so I feel like there's this awareness of relationships, how we show up in relationships, what relationships, sort of the reality of our relationships. I feel like that's also, a characteristic of this transit. All right. It gives us the opportunity to examine our own motives when it comes to relationships, and it provides this opportunity for personal and spiritual growth. Okay, so that's always a good thing. Now, the one thing I always caution people when it comes to Jupiter is that Jupiter is large and in charge, and it's also about expansion. So it makes things larger, right? Now, if we're talking about the Sun, we're talking about our ego. So we could have a tendency to sort of overinflate relationships or overinflate our position in relationships. You may have this thought or this belief that you're acting really well in your relationship. And I feel like Jupiter opposite the Sun on Monday will sort of put a battery in your back and sort of expand that, egotistic kind of belief that you have. All right. So anytime there's Jupiter in the mix, you run the risk of overstating, overpromising, doing things to excess. Okay. So that's something that you're going to want to be mindful of. If you've been greedy, if you've been any sort of negative or low vibrational characteristics as they relate to relationships, if you've been exhibiting that kind of behavior, I feel like this transit could sort of exacerbate that. All right. So it's definitely something that you want to look into, or not look into, that you want to be cognizant of, because I feel like if you're sort of acting that way in relationships, the Sun is going to highlight that fact towards your partner, your counterpart, or whoever you're in a relationship, right? And I feel like that could potentially cause some issues, all right? So that's definitely something to be mindful of on Monday. So that same day, we have Mercury conjunct Venus. All right. Both of those signs or both of those planets are going to be in the sign of Virgo. And so what I love about this particular transit is that it allows you to express yourself. Okay. So when it comes to love, when it comes to affection, it's one of those days where you want to express yourself. If you love someone, let them know. If you want to express how you feel towards someone, all right, particularly in a tangible sort of way, because Virgo is an earth sign. So if you want to do something nice for someone that you love, I feel like Mercury conjunct Venus will definitely urge you to do so. Now, keep in mind, Mercury is still retrograde on Monday. So your expression of love may not be as clear as you would like it to be, or it may not be understood in the way that you want it to be understood, right? So you may feel like, if you're familiar with the book, The 5 Love Languages, right? One of the love languages is acts of service. And I feel like Venus in Virgo, that's like the essence of Venus in Virgo. And so let's say you want to do something nice for someone that you love, pick up something for them, like pick up their dry cleaning or pick up something that they may like, right? You think that you're doing it to express your love. They think that they may not see it that way. They may feel like you should be doing that because, if you're in a relationship, you should do those kind of things. Or they're just not necessarily going to receive that expression of love in the way that you're trying to express it. All right. So keep that in mind, given the fact that Mercury is still retrograde. This is also a great time for creativity. Venus is the planet of creativity. And when you've got Mercury in the mix, this is sort of your thoughts related to your creativity. So you may find that, Mercury conjunct Venus gives you a lot of creative ideas, especially if you're in the if you do anything creative like writing, music, things like that. All of those creative activities tend to thrive under this transit. So if you're in a creative field, even if you're someone that's like a content creator, I think that Monday's a great day to sort of put pen to paper and get to work thinking of new ideas, new content ideas, new songs, new poems, all of that good stuff. All right. Then that same day, we have Venus trine Pluto, and this makes relationships extremely intense. Anytime you have Pluto in the mix, it adds a level of intensity to things, right? So especially with both planets in earth signs, it sort of makes things intense on a very sort of, I'm not going to say superficial, but on a very practical sort of level, right? I feel like you're definitely going to feel the intensity in your relationships, okay? So this is one of those transits where whatever you're feeling about your partner, whatever you're feeling in general, gets really intense, all right? So if you're feeling passion, you're going to feel that intensely. If you're feeling romantic or romance, you're going to feel that very intensely. I feel like it just exacerbates anything that you're feeling, right? It's a great time for sex. Take that information and do with it as you will. It's a great time for sex. It's a great time for, sexual attraction. It's a great time for cuddling and affection, all that good stuff. Now, on the flip side of this transit, it also lends itself to things like possessiveness, to obsession. So if one of the things that you're feeling for someone is obsessiveness or obsession, or if you're feeling like codependency, then, those are going to be heightened as well. So this is also one of those transits that lends itself to things like stalking, possessiveness, all of that stuff. So you're going to want to be mindful of that as well. Okay. Especially if you're, in a situation that already has that sort of energy to it. Okay. Starting any new relationship under this transit could also be beneficial because it lends itself to long-term relationships. All right. They're going to start out pretty intense. It's going to start out hot and heavy, but I also feel like it's one of those things where it could go the distance as well. So this might be the time to definitely start a new relationship. And when I say relationship, it doesn't mean romantic. This could definitely mean business partnership, friendship, anything like that. You understand what I'm talking about, but good time for that again, especially with this new moon in Libra. All right. Also, Venus being that, again, it's a planet that is concerned with creativity. You add Pluto to the mix. You could really do a lot of great creative work on Monday, to say the least. All right. So keep that in mind. And that's how we start the week. Lots going on, a lot of intensity, but I feel like it's really good. All right. So let's move on to Tuesday. So on Tuesday, we've got Mercury trine Pluto, and we have the moon moving into Scorpio. And you'll see all of that there up on your screen. All right. So first, let's tackle Mercury trine Pluto. Okay, so Mercury trine Pluto is a great transit to either convince people of things, talk people into things, or just influence people. Okay, not only does Pluto intensify things, but it's also very magnetic. Okay. And so with Mercury being the planet of communication, it's like your mental powers, your powers of communication sort of intensify. All right. It gives you gives you a really great power for thinking, for imagining. Okay. So this is great, especially if you couple that with the energy of the new moon. You know, the new moon is all about setting new intentions, planting new seeds. It's all about starting new manifestations, right? And so if Mercury trine Pluto allows your mind to be super powerful, this is like one of those, I'm telling you, the energy of this week is so conducive to relationships. Whatever you really put your mind to with respect to relationships, that intensity is just going to provide like the perfect environment to manifest something new. Even if it's manifesting something new with someone from the past, I feel like this energy is super potent for that. Okay. And Mercury trine Pluto sort of plays right into it. Okay. This transit is also great for things like sales, negotiating, debating. All right. But because Mercury is still retrograde, you may be able to have those preliminary conversations, but I definitely wouldn't sign on the dotted line until after Mercury goes direct. Okay. Because invariably, if you commit to anything right now, I feel like you're going to have to revisit it at some point in the future. All right. So keep that in mind. But Mercury trine Pluto is also great for understanding things like astrology, the occult. And one of the weird things about this transit is that it's very much conducive for criminal activity. Pluto represents the underworld. It represents criminal activity. And so it allows you to sort of understand the underworld, understand criminal activity a little better. So it lends itself to things like, crimes, violence, things like that. So that's definitely something that you're going to want to be mindful of. All right. But by and large, I feel like it's a great transit to manifest new things, particularly relationships. It's also great for doing things like getting a psychic reading, a past life regression. It's great for remote viewing, telepathy, dream recall. All of those sort of spiritual woo-woo things thrive under Mercury trine Pluto. All right. Then that same day, we have the waxing crescent moon in Scorpio. And, I already talked about Pluto being intense, right? Pluto is also the ruling planet, at least one of the ruling planets of Scorpio. And with the moon in Scorpio, right? It's all about intensity. Whatever you're feeling, you're going to be feeling it extremely intensely, okay? Emotions are felt intensely. You have this desire to get to the bottom of things, to really understand things on a substantive level. So I always say that Scorpio is like the private eye of the zodiac. These are that's the sign and that's the energy that's concerned with getting down to the bottom of things, finding the truth and understanding why things are the way that they are. And I feel like when the moon is in Scorpio, that's sort of the energy that we embody, right? And with the moon in the waxing phase, it's building momentum. Like I said before, this is where we put the pedal to the metal and take whatever action steps are necessary in order to manifest our desires, right? And so when the moon is in Scorpio, it's really about understanding your motivations behind why you want certain things and why you do certain things. And understanding your motivations, you can assess sort of whatever bad habits or, characteristic traits that you have that really get in the way of allowing you to manifest the things that you want to manifest. So whenever the moon is in Scorpio, it's great for doing things like shadow work, introspection, journaling, all that great stuff. So you can sort of understand yourself better, understand your motivations, get rid of any bad habits or character traits so that you have sort of a clear path to your manifestation and your desired goals. All right. It's all about, and also when the moon is in the waxing crescent phase, it's also about being positive and having faith that you will achieve your goals, that your manifestations will come to fruition. So even if you're dealing with a lot of intense emotions, right? I said before, anytime the moon is in Scorpio, we feel everything so intensely. Even if you're feeling things, deeply repressed emotions, things like codependency, abandonment, all of that stuff, even if you're feeling those things, it's really important that you remain positive and faithful to your desires and to your manifestation, because if you work through those things, it's actually going to make it easier for you to, like I said, have a clear path to your desired goals. All right. So keep that in mind on Tuesday. All right. So now we move on to Wednesday. And so on Wednesday, we have Mars trine Saturn. You'll see Mars at the bottom hand portion of your screen. Mars is in the sign of Gemini, and we've got Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. All right, so let's talk about it. So if I had to sum up this transit in one word, it would be determination. So Martian energy is very much concerned with starting new things in a bold and dynamic way. It's about being very motivated, amped, and hype towards accomplishing something new, setting out on a new journey towards something, right? And Saturn is all about determination and diligence and sort of putting in the work in order to get to that end result. So when you put those two planets together in a trine, no less, it's all about being determined toward our goals, okay? And because both signs are in air signs, it's all about our thoughts and our communication. So I feel like Wednesday is going to be a great day to actually get work done, because you're going to feel very determined. I feel like whatever thoughts you're thinking are going to be very ambitious. They're going to be very diligent. Like you're really going to feel like you want to put in the work to get what it is that you want, okay? It gives you the strength, ambition, and perseverance to take on difficult tasks. All right. So if you've been putting off doing any sort of tasks, if you've been putting off doing any sort of work, you're going to want to do it on Wednesday. Like you're going to want to finally sit down and get it done, because the astrology is just going to be conducive to that. All right. It's a good time to also legitimize relationships, okay? And it's interesting because you definitely don't usually think of Mars as a relationship planet, all right? Mars is really concerned about itself. It's concerned about the self, okay? But I feel like with Mars and Saturn, it sort of gives you the mindset of longevity when it comes to relationships. It sort of makes you commitment minded. It could even be marriage focused. So feeling that way personally, you have that air of commitment when you talk to other people, when you relate to other people. Okay. And so with all that other relationship energy that's flying around us this week, I feel like Mars trine Saturn allows you to be commitment minded. Okay. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. All right. But by and large, I feel like Mars trine Saturn allows you to just set the foundation for things to last a long time. Mars, while very bold and dynamic and ambitious, is not necessarily known for sticking with things. Mars makes you hyped to start something, but definitely doesn't give you the energy to finish or follow through. But when you add a planet like Saturn to Mars via a trine, that gives you the motivation to start something and the determination to see it through. So if you're trying to start anything new, if you're trying to start a new project, a new business, anything like that, depending on what else is going down in your chart, you're going to want to do it on Wednesday, because again, the astrology is going to be conducive to that. All right. So now let's move on to Thursday. So on Thursday, we have Venus making her way into her home sign of Libra. All right. And as if I haven't said it enough, the key word for this transit is relationships. I'm telling you, if relationships are not your thing, if you definitely don't want to be bothered with them, the next couple of weeks are going to be really agitating, because that's all that you're going to see. It's all that you're going to feel, especially with Venus in Libra, right? So it's relationship on the brain, okay? But the thing is, Venus is not just about relationships. Venus is also about money. It's also about beauty. It's also about things that we value. Okay. So even on the money side of things, Venus in Libra is great for that, right? Because it sort of allows us to pair up with people who are valuable to us and who can help us make more money. So Venus in Libra is one of those great transits to get new business partners, business associates, team up with people in order to accomplish a shared goal, right? So if you're looking to make more money, while Venus is in Libra, you're going to want to find people who can help you do that, all right? That's one of the highlights of Venus in Libra. And of course, relationships, but again, not just romantic relationships. Libra is all about, friendliness and diplomacy, right? So if you're looking to if you're looking to make new friends, meet new people, Venus in Libra is also great for that, okay? And because Venus is in her home sign of Libra and Venus rules creativity, things like beauty, fashion, art, all of those things thrive when Venus is in her home sign. And because Venus is a cardinal sign, meaning that it is concerned with starting things and initiating things, if you have anything related to art, beauty, fashion, you're going to want to start it while Venus is in Libra because it will have that extra magnetism, that extra creativity, right? It's excellent for those kind of things. All right. And Venus will be in Libra for the majority of the month, I believe. I believe it's going to, the majority of the month, October. I believe that it's going to transit into Scorpio at the end of October. So you have a whole month of October really to sort of make new friends, start new relationships, start things related to art, fashion, and beauty, right? So keep that in mind. And again, if you want to know more about what's going on in October, join me here on YouTube live on Wednesday. That is September 28th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I'll be breaking down everything that's going down in October. All right. So now let's move on to Friday. So on Friday, we have the moon moving into Sagittarius. All right. And so whenever the moon is in Sagittarius, we tend to feel very optimistic. But not only that, we tend to have this sense of adventure. We sort of want to be spontaneous. We want to experience new things, go out on a limb and broaden our horizons, okay? And so that's what's going to make you feel good. Like that's where we're going to derive our emotional satisfaction from when the moon is in Sagittarius. We want to expand. We want to learn new things and experience new things, all right? I love it because moon in Sagittarius is always very upbeat. It's always very energetic and optimistic. So again, we start the week on Monday with that optimism, right? With the sun opposite Jupiter. And I feel like even though we take a dip, right, with the moon in Scorpio, I feel like we're going to come right back up and be feeling optimistic on Friday when the moon is in Sagittarius. And again, because we're in the waxing crescent phase, it's all about building momentum. All right. So when it comes to manifesting, okay, and we're still in that waxing phase, meaning that we're taking those action steps toward our manifestations, you're going to want to cast a wide net. Don't just stick to what you know. Try to learn new things, broaden your horizons to give you a different perspective on your manifestations. And don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to step outside the box and be spontaneous. I feel like that energy is not only what helps you broaden your horizons with respect to your manifestations, but I feel like that's what attributes to your optimism. All right. So do something new and spontaneous on Friday. I feel like your manifestations will be better for it. All right. So now let's move on to Saturday. So on Saturday, we've got Venus opposite Jupiter. All right. So Venus is conjunct the sun in Libra, and then we have Jupiter in Aries. All right. And like I said before, even though an opposition is a somewhat negative aspect, anytime you involve Jupiter is actually very positive. And because Venus is in her home sign of Libra, and Jupiter's in Aries, we've got that dichotomy of relationships. Like I feel like definitely if you're watching this on the replay and if you're bored or want to do something fun, every time I say relationships, you should take a shot. I feel like if you do that by the end of this video, you'll be pretty drunk if that's what you like to do. All right. But in any event, this is a great transit going into the weekend because it promotes things like partying, indulging, having a good time, socializing with people. All right. It's sort of like sex, drugs, and rock and roll I'll say. It's one of those kind of transits, all right? But again, whenever you have Jupiter in the mix, it lends itself to excess, all right? So you don't want to party too hard. You don't want to indulge too much because obviously too much of a good thing is not necessarily a good thing, all right? But this is definitely one of those transits where you'll want to kick back, have fun, meet up with friends, go out on dates, just enjoy yourself, live life to the fullest, because not only should you, right, but the astrology supports it. So it's a great transit to have on a Saturday. All right. So now we make our way to Sunday, which I have to say is my favorite day of the week because finally, thank God, Mercury goes direct. All right. Mercury is in the sign of Virgo at 24 degrees and it's going to finally be going direct. And the moon will be moving into Capricorn. All right. So I don't know about you, but this Mercury retrograde has really kicked my ass. All right. But I know that for me personally, it's been very intense for me for two specific reasons. Number one, the ruler of the year for me is Mercury. And I'm going to do a separate video on that because every year there's a planet that is highlighted for us. Okay. Has to do with a lot of advanced astrological stuff. But again, I'm going to do a video on that. So with Mercury being my planet of the year, of course, every Mercury retrograde this year was going to kick my ass. Okay. And then number two, I just realized yesterday I'm experiencing my Mercury return. So I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with a solar return, right? That's your birthday. But that is when the sun returns to the exact same spot that it is in your natal chart. And so you have a return with respect to every single planet in the natal chart, right? And so for me, this Mercury retrograde season in particular, meaning this one that started, earlier this month, it was right where my natal Mercury is. And so when you have a Mercury return, it's like everything with respect to Mercury is highlighted. And because Mercury was retrograde, that is why Mercury has been kicking my ass so much. If you've been following me, if you've been watching my other videos, I had so many technical difficulties. I tried to film so many videos and my camera was malfunctioning. Like it was just a mess. All right. So keep that in mind. So sometimes you'll realize that Mercury retrograde won't be so bad for you, either because Mercury isn't highlighted for you that year or whatever's going on in your chart doesn't really involve Mercury. Okay. And so if you want to know more about that, you should definitely get a natal chart report from me where I tell you everything that's going on in your natal chart. And if your birthday is coming up, you'll want to get a solar return report because then it tells you everything you need to know about the year ahead from birthday to birthday. All right. And if you want to order any of those things, those links are going to be in the description box below. All right. But in any event, on Sunday, Mercury is finally going direct. All right. And it's going to be in its home sign of Virgo. So this is going to give you the A-OK. Well, not on Sunday, but definitely by the 19th. It's going to give you the A-OK to sort of sign contracts. Communication is going to be less wonky. Things are going to return back to normal, etc. But with Mercury in its home sign of Virgo, this is the time to get organized. This is the time to get efficient, be of service. And you're going to want to look over things like contracts, agreements, stuff like that with a fine-tooth comb because you never know what you could find. All right. Mercury in Virgo loves to be meticulous, loves to be analytical, loves to be detailed oriented. So take advantage of that because Mercury is going to be, it's not going to be in Virgo for long. It's going to be transiting back into Libra in the next week or two. So for the next week or two, definitely get organized, get efficient, use Mercury in Virgo to your advantage. All right. But I don't know about you. I'm so looking forward to Mercury going direct on Sunday. And then we close out the week with the moon in Capricorn. Building on that Mercury in Virgo energy, the moon in Capricorn allows us to feel good about working. And I feel like this is one of those moon cycles where it's perfect that it's falling on Sunday because it allows you to sort of set yourself up for the week, right? This is the time for you to organize, plan out your week, lay out your clothes for Monday, iron, do all of your chores on Sunday. I feel like it's not only going to make you feel good, it's going to set you up lovely for the week to come. All right. So when the moon is in Capricorn, we become aware of the need for structure and discipline. We realize where we've been lacking those things in our lives and where we think about what we can do to just make our lives better, to be more efficient, to be more diligent, and to get more things done. All right. One of the things about the moon in Capricorn is that it also gives us the serious drive for success. It's not just about doing work for the sake of doing work. It's doing work to get recognition. It's doing work to get ahead. It's doing work to promote ourselves, our businesses, and all of that good stuff. All right. So it's very important that you use the energy of the moon in Capricorn to really just get things done. Again, get organized and get yourself set up for the week. Now, one of the things about the moon in Capricorn that I don't necessarily like is that it tends to be a little depressing. So if we are aware of the need for structure and discipline in our lives, thinking about where we lack those things can be a little depressing. And it can sort of make us think about what we didn't do well in the past, what we should have done better. And so especially if you're feeling down, that's definitely normal. It's definitely the astrology at work. But know that that sort of energy is going to pass. The moon never stays in a sign for longer than 2 days. So although it may, for some, it may motivate people to get to work. For others, it may be a little sad. It may be a little sobering. So keep that in mind and know that nothing lasts forever. All right. And then the moon is also actually going to be in the first quarter phase. And during the first quarter phase, it's all about putting the past behind you. So like I said, the energy of the moon in Capricorn will sort of make us take a look at the past and see where we sort of didn't do things how we would have liked. And being that it's in the first quarter phase, I feel like it's going to be one of those days where you sort of make peace with the past. Whatever transpired in the past has happened. Now that you know better, you can do better and sort of put the past behind you and keep your eyes on the prize, okay? Because again, the moon is still in the waxing phase, so it's all about our goals. It's all about our desires. It's all about our manifestations and making our way to that, all right? So it's important that even though you may feel bad about what has transpired in the past, put it behind you and move forward. All right, my friends, so that is the weekly astro forecast, all right? Hopefully this week is good to you. I forgot to mention the date. I should have done that in the beginning of the video. So this was the weekly astro forecast for the week of September 26th through October 2nd. All right. Again, I hope that this week is good to you. I hope that you're able to use the energy to your advantage. And I hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you can use going forward. Thank you again so much for tuning in. You could have been doing anything on this Sunday afternoon, but the fact that you're rocking with me means the world to me. All right. If you want more information about my products and services, those links are in the description box below. Thank you so much. And I will see you next Sunday. Take care, my friends.